Spicy number one.
Welcome all. It's draft night again on Primetime Mock, the show where we bring you a different industry draft with special guests from all over the fantasy community every single week. I'm the host of this draft party, Mark Shue, and you can find me on Twitter at Primetime Mock. And while you're at it, head on over to the Primetime Mock channel on YouTube and subscribe for us. You'll be glad you did. Because even if you don't like what I'm saying, if you think I'm a dope, that's not what it's about. I'm bringing in some great guests every single week, and we can put together some of the sharpest draft rooms live here on the air every single week. Let's meet some of those people right now. First up, from the Young Fantasy Mind Football Podcast, he's not old enough to vote, but he is old enough to party. Hutchinson Brown. What's going on, Hutch?
What's up, Mark? Man, super pumped to be here. This draft is already looking fun. We've just started it, and so far I like it. So far, it's gonna be a fun show tonight. Gonna be fun talking about these receivers.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have you, Hutch. And I asked all the guests before to bring what's their must-have thing to bring to the draft with them, whether it's a token of good luck, whether it's that food you always want, whether it's that drink. What do you got for me, Hutch?
From you said it last, it has to be drinks. I mean, I can't drink like alcohol or whatever, but like a cool, like if I'm hanging out with my friends doing a draft, like for my home league, we usually go outside. We usually like sit out in the backyard under like the shade of a tree or whatever. And we draft, and there has to be a cooler of sodas or seltzers or something out there. There has to be a big cooler of something like that.
If I'm gonna go NA, I would definitely look at like a blue slushy. That would be my jam. If I were coming to a draft party, I roll up with a giant Slurpee from 7-Eleven, a giant blue Slurpee from 7-Eleven or something like that. God. All right, next up, he's the editor-in-chief at Dynasty Rewind, Sean Fournier. What's going on, Sean?
How's it going? Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it.
Love having you on. Always enjoy having the Dynasty Rewind. Found out Michael Bauer lives pretty close to me, so we're gonna get something together. We'll play golf.
Oh no, you guys are gonna chop it up?
Yeah, I guess we'll chop it up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But that's he's a good guy. He's been reaching out, and I appreciate the Dynasty Rewind all coming through and helping us make these great draft rooms here.
Oh, we appreciate it. I know we might have a little bit of kind of a dynasty lens to kind of give to the people out there, but it's always helpful in some situations to have that kind of point of view. And when I found out Porkman was going to be on the week that we kind of arranged, it felt like it was going to be a little bit like home. So it made me feel a little more comfortable being in this nice, fine group that we had here. So,
and we'll head right over to that counterpart from the Dynasty Rewind podcast and BigGuyFantasySports.com. It's Phil Simmons. What's going on, Phil?
Doing great, man. I'm just happy to be here. I usually see you guys. Usually see you do your mocks on Twitter all the time. So I'm actually very excited to be invited to this wide receiver mock, which is secretly my favorite position of all time.
Oh, I'm glad I can make that happen for you. Have you ever done a mock like this, Phil?
I have not, but you know what? I'm in mock hell right now. So I got the Scott Fishbowl mocks and this mock, and then I'm in like two other ones. So it's fun. I'm enjoying it greatly, especially during this off season.
That's great. And I think you're on the clock, so it's your time to make a pick.
Yeah. I'm about to make my pick now.
Go for it.
All
right. He does graphics for Real Deal Fantasy and Triple Play Fantasy. It's Z2, Tobe Zientek. What's going on, Tobe?
Not much. Glad to be back. Third time.
Tobe, you're my saving grace. Every time I have a last minute drop, Toby's there to pick up the slack. He's my man. I love it. What you got going on tonight, Tobe?
Just gonna watch the Astros once we get off here.
Oh yeah,
best team in baseball.
That's right. I can't.
Trash cans.
Right,
sorry, I had to throw it in there.
I'm not much of a baseball guy. Tobe, you know though, my summer show is Big Brother. That's what I'm into during the summer.
I can't wait for that, Mark. Can't wait.
Trash TV with my wife is what I do during the summer. All right. Next up, from the Going for Two and the Practice Squad podcast, it's the commish, Chris Moshinskie. What's going on, Chris?
What's up, Mark? Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great having you on again. Anytime somebody's not scared away by me and is just ready to come back, I'm good with that, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be here anytime. Anytime. Love chopping up with you guys. I'm excited to meet some new faces here. Dynasty Rewind, I'm just going to say, I mean, that logo is like sick as hell. So I love seeing that logo. Phil up there, man, got the Big Guy Sports. Have you seen me, bro? We need to connect.
No,
Big
for
guy,
sure.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So, but yeah, glad to be here again. One thing I want to talk about, I mean, your icebreaker for me, I'm a big dude, so it's got to be with food for me. In my home league, we have a trophy we pass around. It has spots for 18 names. I haven't won in a couple of years, but my name's on there twice in the last 8 years. So when that's home with me, that's with me on draft day. But the one thing that will never leave my side is like this famous pepperoni bread that my uncle would make. My best friends back on Long Island, his mom, Super Bowl parties, anything football related was pepperoni bread. And like that's just my go-to, man. So I gotta have that whenever time draft day comes around, football games, everything.
I love it. I'm a queso guy myself. If I'm going to a draft party, I like a good queso. I like
Tostitos and queso, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm with you on that too.
Queso and everything, man.
True.
Cheeseburger and queso, chips and queso, hot dog and queso, anything in queso. That's right. Chips and queso, anything you want. Salsa and queso. It's all good. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Cheese is the best.
All right, last up, and I'm ready to hear what she's got coming for us too. From the Fantasy Footballers and the Get Real podcast, it's Kacey Kasem. What's going on, Kacey?
Howdy. Liking the queso talk, being from Texas, so just happy to be here. I really do think that wide receiver is such a dope position. I know everybody feels the same way, but it's really cool to be able to draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
and for my draft party, I am old enough to drink. I'm like way too old. I feel very old right now. Anyway, but yeah, so I need a nice hard cider, a nice like Bishop cider, Austin East cider.
There you go. I like that. I went abroad to Europe, and I was drinking a ton of ciders over there when I back in college a long time ago. I'm a choir geek for all of you who don't know. And we did a European tour abroad, and I ended up drinking cider, like crazy. Strongbow over there was one of my favorites. So, I mean, I haven't had cider in a minute, but I can always appreciate a good cider.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go round table here because we didn't get everybody. Sean, what about you? What's your favorite must-have draft item?
I mean, it's classic football, but I mean, it's almost the start of the football season. So, when a lot of my friends and buddies get together, it has to be the start of wing season. I mean, we can have wings anytime, but when draft time comes and you start having those wings, man, oh, it's so good. So good. It's like the start of just what is all as good as coming. So that's the one thing we like. And probably everybody that's here in this list, we know that our home leagues oftentimes are not as intense for some as maybe some of the other leagues that we might be involved in with people around this group and maybe the fantasy space in general. And even just having my own like research, which they make fun of me for, or this or that or the other thing, but that's always a classic too, having something that I can go by in my own kind of rankings and things like that. I know it's not food or drinks or other things, but that is always something that stands out in my home league that many of them don't necessarily take the time to do. So
I can relate to that so much.
I had to bring that up because outside of food or other things, like that's one thing that stands out usually.
I love queso, but I might not bring queso. I'm definitely bringing my computer with my jank Excel sheet that I've got put together.
So true.
Absolutely.
100%.
All right, Phil, go ahead and give me what's your must-have draft item.
I kind of go with Sean with that one only because it's like I look like the smartest man in the room in my home leagues because they're not as into fancy as I am, so they're just like looking at me. It's like, okay, who are you taking? Do you know something about this guy? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to freaking tell you.
That's right.
But I guess for me, it's got to be food. I'm just a fat guy at heart. I like pizza, wings. I don't care what it is. To tell you the truth. Give me some nachos or whatever, because we'll have a draft board and we just have one designated person put the stickers up. So my fingers are just freaking disgusting. so I can't really just put the stuff up there anyway.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, but I think my secret weapon is just bringing like the alcohol and the liquor, so everybody else can get drunk, so they can mess up their picks, which works for me. So I know my guys will always be available.
That's how you do it. That's for sure. Maybe not in Hutch's leagues. That we shouldn't be promoting doing that.
I can't do that. I'm not going to do that to you, Hutch. But you know.
now Porkman,
I want this show to get shut down tonight. All right, we're not trying to go for any of that.
I want to be at Porkman's drafts too, because he studied as a chef at one point, so his stuff's got to be good.
Yeah,
it's hella good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, Z2, what's your go-to?
Well, I'm a college kid, so 12-pack's always handy for me at drafts. Any kind of 12-pack beer, but I've always done this thing where I have my rankings, but I also print out sheets of rankings that I'll create, but it's completely wrong, and I just hand it out to my league mates. See, if they ever forget it, they can use those.
You got to print out. You got to print out everything the year before, have it in a folder, bring it to the draft that day, then print again day after the draft. I like that. That's good. All right, folks. So we're talking wide receivers here. It's and the draft has already started, and I'm gonna try and pull up this thing real quick. And I'm doing a terrible, terrible job.
Oh, dang.
Oh goodness.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, there it is.
We're not live.
Yeah, good thing we're not live. You know what?
Right.
This is. You know what? I started this thing 6 weeks ago. We're having fun. I make mistakes. It'll happen. It's fine. I'm gonna own mistakes, and it's fine.
Man.
I'll learn from it next time, right?
Philip, Casey, you guys totally just sniped me. Both picks.
Sorry about that.
Go for it.
Not
Talk
really.
it up.
I was looking at T. Higgins and Mike Evans as my top two, and they totally just sniped them 1 and 2 before my pick. So that was definitely frustrating.
See, I was debating taking Cooper there. So
Yeah, definitely Evans over Cooper for me. But I think Cooper is just going to be such a safe option in a pass-heavy Dak-led offense. It's going to be the 1A. It's going to be a 1A 1B situation with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. I'm not sure which one actually is the 1A yet. I'm still kind of debating. I think they're going to be very close, but I'd rather have Amari Cooper just for the safety, for the floor. I think he's got a top 15 floor this year with the passing offense and how good it looks.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Well, by the way, I picked CD. I don't think that.
Yeah, I saw that CD pick and I was like, there's no way Z2 is going to agree with me on this one.
Now, I had a question for Philip. Julio Jones that high?
I think Julio Jones is a generational talent, and I feel as though if you continue to let this man fall and prove you wrong every single year, it's stupid, in my opinion. Now, if I'm drafting in a regular draft and I just continue to see him fall, I'm going to just let that value keep falling until I see it's like, you know what, I'm going to just take him here because this is my guy regardless. Especially in Dynasty leagues, I'm seeing now the guy's going in the 7th round, 8th round in Superflex. But when he's healthy playing 16 games, he's still putting up 1,400 yards. He's an animal. He's a beast. He's never going to stop until I see fit that I'm going to stop taking him.
I disagree here. He's barely in my top 20. I'm not in on Julio Jones. This is a low passing team. This is a very low pass offense. They might pass a little bit more now that Julio Jones is there, and now they have great weapons with the great duo. But I still think A.J. Brown's the clear-cut wide receiver 1, and Julio to go to a new offense, a completely different offense after staying in Atlanta for so many years. It's going to be tough for him to learn and really, really produce day one. So I have him barely inside of my top 20. I don't really love Julio, especially with the injury concerns he's had. It's just really tough to trust him where he's being drafted. I don't like him being drafted in the top 15 receivers right now. That's not something I'm looking at.
I'm gonna back you up there, Hutch, on that too, man. He's ranked right around 20 for me as well. A run first and often team. A.J. Brown is still the one there. You call him 1A, 1B, but there's still not tons of volume. So I still see him getting about 80 catches or so if he plays 14, 15 games. We can't say he's going to play 16, 17. I don't think that's in his cards anymore. So limited by the games he's going to play and just the volume. But
Chris, I'm gonna back you up to the very beginning of the draft where you start out with DeAndre Hopkins. It's a little. I think it's a little spicy for the room. I want you to talk about it here.
So speaking, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna go after you, but I got to spice your pick for number 1.
So speaking of targets, I mean this guy is pretty healthy as they come. He gets his work in. He is the true number 1 on a team that's going to throw the ball over 600 times easily. I think this season they added Connor in the running game. Chase Edmonds is not a pure running back. So this team is going to throw a lot and often, and it's going to go to DeAndre Hopkins. So I mean, this guy's going to put up like 160 targets the last 7 years on average. You know what I mean? So give me a guy who's going to be in that kind of offense, who's going to get 170, maybe 180 targets, could be 115, 120 catches. I'm going to take that every time. Tyreek Hill was my other choice that Tobe grabbed up at number 2. So I was kind of between those two dudes. But I'm a Hopkins fan. I mean, I got to say, I'm a fan. So, but yeah, I have no problem taking him number 1 overall.
Sure. And I mean, this is really what I like to do is rank in tiers. We talk about that all the time. Mm-hmm. And I always like to talk about that first tier of wide receivers. I love having Hopkins in that tier. Hill, Diggs, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Justin Jefferson, and Devontae Adams goes at number 8 to Z2. Where do we have Devontae Adams right now? Z2, talk a little bit about it. Are you happy to get him there?
Without knowing any speculation of Rodgers coming back or not, I think right around where Jefferson and he went at 7-8 is where I put him at this moment. But we've seen that he can play dominantly without Aaron Rodgers. So it's just a matter of if we get that news or not. Once we get that news, he'll be right next to Hopkins and Hill again.
Yeah, right now I'm gonna keep him right around 2 or 3 because I mean I'm just gonna stay. I'm just gonna stick with the fact that Aaron Rodgers is gonna stay. Once we see a news that says okay, Aaron Rodgers is officially gone, like he's actually gone, he'd probably be right around 6 or 7, or like right around that range. Around Justin Jefferson, right around Michael Thomas, like that kind of range for me. But yeah, I pretty much agree here.
And sorry, go ahead, Kacey.
I was just going to say, it was really hard to pass on him in the first. I was, really interested to see where he ended up going, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have him over DK Metcalf no matter who stays. I am not in on DK Metcalf 2021.
Why not?
I just don't like. I don't like the passing volume. I don't like what we saw in the second half of the season. I don't like the run heavy that they're going to be. I just don't like the way they use DK Metcalf because it was just so simple and basic, and defenses easily figured out a way to lock it down. And he had nothing in like the last 5-6 games. He had absolutely nothing. And I'm just staying away. He's being drafted as a top 5 receiver. I just don't think there's a chance that he finishes there. He might put up numbers, but it's gonna come in huge games, and it's gonna come in some bust games. And it's gonna be so frustrating to have him as a stud wide receiver 1. I'd rather have any of the guys drafted in the first round and most of the guys drafted in the second round than DK Metcalf as my wide receiver 1.
Kacey, you have a rebuttal?
No. I mean, not really. I am partially leaning this way, just based off of a feeling, but also the speed of DK Metcalf is something that I just am like really finding myself drawn to more and more as we draft. I usually would say, I would wait a little longer on him, but for the last couple of weeks, I don't know, there's just been something drawing to me to him.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we all speculate and we all take so much time to deliberate on how much we want one player over another. But really, within that first tier, I think both of the DK, I think Devontae Adams, even that second tier or even that second round up to Michael Thomas. If you believe in Julio Jones, I could see that happening too. all those receivers seem really good wide receiver one starts for your fantasy team this year. It's just which one is going to hit, and that's sort of what we're trying to figure out here. And then as we get out of that first tier, we start to fall into this sort of area where we have like 30 guys that we all like, a different amount, all pretty close, but we don't really know exactly where they're going to fall. And again, it can kind of be a bit of a crapshoot. Who are those players that we like in that sort of second tier that we feel like we can go to either in early or mid rounds through rounds 3 through 5 or 7 here.
I'm gonna name. I'm gonna go. Okay,
sure.
I'm gonna name a top 3 here. I'm just gonna go 3 guys. My 3 favorite guys drafted in rounds like 3. In the after the first 2 rounds, I'm gonna just name a top 3 from these guys drafted so far. Right now, it has to be Amari Cooper at 1, Chris Godwin at 2, T. Higgins at 3. Those are my top 3 guys in this range. I think T. Higgins is being massively undervalued, even though Jamar Chase is now there. Jamar Chase is no guarantee in his rookie year. He's no guarantee at all. And this passing offense is going to be awesome. Joe Burrow's the quarterback. It's going to be a high-volume passing offense, and there's going to be tons of targets to go around. T. Higgins is going to see great targets. And then Chris Godwin, kind of the same story. Like in the games where he was healthy, he was pretty good. And in the last 5 games where like he was healthy, this offense was clicking, he was a top 15 receiver. Like he was a guy that you could slot in as your lock-it-in wide receiver 2. He was like a fringe wide receiver 1. He was just always there for your team as the slot guy. I think he sees tons of targets from Tom Brady. I think he's the number 1 in targets at the end of the season next year. And then Amari Cooper. As I said earlier, I just feel he's a safe guy. Dak and him have been together for a few years now. This is a high-volume passing offense. And Amari Cooper is going to be at least the 1B. It's going to be kind of a 50-50 shot between CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper for who takes step 1, who takes the 1A. But I personally am leaning Amari Cooper right now. I still haven't decided. I think Amari Cooper is just a really, really safe guy right now. So those are my top 3 for that range.
Sure, and
Amari,
go ahead, Phil.
I'll say Amari is a tough call for me, only because he just showed pure inconsistency. I mean, you did talk about, you got to spiel on the field. And for Amari, some days he clocks out. He's on the field, but he's clocks out. And that's the part I just don't understand. So when you got CD there, you also they're going to try to establish run with Zeke as well. And you saw how they utilized a bum tight end last year because Blake Jarwin got hurt. Now Blake is back, and he's actually going to be playing a lot better than the Dalton Schultz. Yeah, he was a household name. So I'm just curious of how to see how that's going to work with Amari. Now he did show some good. He showed a lot, but again, if you disappear, I don't know if I want to start you every time because I feel as though he's going to be the guy. He's going to start well, and then you trade him, sell him high for younger talent for your dynasty teams if you have those.
I've got to be honest.
Go ahead, Mark.
I've got to be honest though, Phil. It's wide receiver seems so inconsistent as a position to begin with. Though.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
When we have
100%.
Yeah, when we have 2, there are some offenses where there are just 2 high volume wide receiver targets, like I think what we're thinking that maybe Cooper and Lamb will be, and sometimes it just comes down to who catches more of those balls, or who gets more of those yards, or who gets more of those. It's usually who gets more of those touchdowns. If we're really being honest, right. Who gets more of those touchdowns at the end of the day, and ultimately. I make these tiers, and then all of my evaluations. I almost think of like hole cards in poker, where you might be going King Jack, King Queen, Ace Queen. They're all very close. They're all nice high face cards, but ultimately at the end of the day, unless there's like one common thing that's eating away from the other, they're all live cards. They're all live cards. They're all nice. They're all nice cards, and sometimes it's just you're hedging. All we're doing is hedging those bets down the way and saying, who are we more comfortable with? Who are we less comfortable with? And, there's also the right thing to say is like, no, there's there's no wrong way to go about, like, if you like CeeDee Lamb more, go for it. Yeah, that's fine. Get your guy, man. If you like Amari Cooper more, go for it. It's totally fine.
Both are very safe, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this top half of the draft is. Again, with an inconsistent position, you know, as you get through it, you just got to go with the people that you like, right? And just hope for the best.
Yeah, I think both are very safe, and I think both are going to be great for fantasy. I have them both right at like 14 and 16. I have Cooper a little higher right now, but they're both going to be great for fantasy, and I love both of them where they're being drafted. I think they'll both be values. But CeeDee Lamb definitely has more upside with, you know, the breakout potential, and Amari Cooper, we know who he is. I don't think he's taking any steps forward, but CeeDee Lamb could definitely take a massive, massive leap forward, and he could have a crazy season and be like a top 10 receiver. But I don't know if I really see Amari Cooper fading out of the offense. I love Amari Cooper. I love his talent. I don't really see him fading out of the offense.
All right, I'm going to pause everybody here for a second. We're about to get through the 7th round of this draft. And I want everyone to sort of talk. We're going to really talk about the first 6 to 8 picks that you've made. If you haven't made your 8th pick, that's totally fine. But I just want to talk about those first 6 to 8 picks and give me some highlights from every person's draft. I want to start. Let's just start right at the top. Let's start with Chris. Go ahead and give me some highlights. We already talked about Hopkins, but keep going on the rest of your draft.
Yeah, so second round, I grabbed Justin Jefferson. I'm not going to say I love it. I mean, I don't hate it. That was during my intro, so I kind of panic picked real quick.
I got you scared, Chris. What's happening here?
I was like, oh, man, I got to tell all about myself here. I better pick somebody. But
oh, God, you got Justin Jefferson. Oh, man.
I know. It's more me, right? More me. So, no, but I do love Justin Jefferson. But he kind of goes against what I've been talking about as far as volume on a team that's going to run the ball a lot. But Thielen's going to have some touchdown regression. No doubt about it. You're not going to get 14 touchdowns on like 800 yards. This is not going to work. So, I mean, he'll get 1,100 yards anyway. But Jefferson, I think, is a solid pick for me there. The steal I got, I mean, Allen Robinson, I mean, he's the 13th receiver off the board, but he's putting up top 10 numbers the last couple of years. So, talking about consistency at an inconsistent position, Allen Robinson is your guy. He's a target monster. Andy Dalton, apparently he's the week 1 starter no matter what happens out there in Chicago. I don't believe it. Even if Dalton is, it doesn't matter. Allen Robinson is going to get his, and I'll take him at the 13th overall receiver every time. Every time I'll take him.
I think I said this on the last show you were on, Chris, but if Justin Fields isn't playing for the first half of week 1, he will be playing for the second half of week 1. They do, ultimately, eventually it's just going to have to happen.
Right. I mean, you don't coach to lose your job. So he's got to put the fans want Justin Fields like right now. So you're just going to be working your way out of town real quick, if you're Nagy and you don't put in Fields. So
yeah, but I feel a little nervous about Robinson right now because they do start off with Dalton and then switch mid-season to Fields.
Don't matter.
It's going to take. I feel it might take a little bit of time to adjust to a different quarterback. Just think about what Terry McLaurin did last year with the year before with the 2 different quarterback switches. Who? Terry McLaurin 2 years ago with the quarterback switch. He just struggled for those 4 weeks, and I feel he could struggle a little bit with a new quarterback. And also Justin Fields, I feel, is a great quarterback, and I feel like he gotten so much volume because the quarterbacks that he's had sucked, and they just leaned on their number 1 option. And I feel Justin Fields, if he just starts really growing and developing in this offense, and he starts performing really well, he might start not to just lean on Allen Robinson. He might start to throw to other guys or just run the ball a little bit more, throw it to Montgomery, throw it to Mooney, throw it to Kmet. There's a lot of other weapons in this offense, but since the quarterback play has been so bad for Robinson, they've just leaned on him. He's been top 10 in targets in the league for the last 3 years since he's been on the Bears. And it's just, I feel with Fields, his volume could go down a little bit if he starts really performing well.
To be fair, I feel like his price is it's kind of baked in though at this point. Robinson is at this point. He worked out just fine for Blake Bortles. He worked out just fine for Nick Foles. He worked out just fine for Mitch Trubisky. So it's true. You're right. There might be a shift, but also like if Fields knows where his bread's going to be buttered, and if he's in trouble, I don't think he's as nice a guy and as good a player as Darnell Mooney looks like he's going to be. I think he's going to Allen Robinson 9 times out of 10 on those. Yeah,
Mooney's solid too. But I mean, Montgomery is not a threat to Allen Robinson. Yeah, if you're a number 6 receiver when you have Blake Bortles throwing you the ball, you're all right. So
kind of quarterback proof. It kind of seems
you
like
DeAndre Hopkins. I think Hopkins is the only guy who's played with worse quarterbacks than Allen Robinson.
That's right.
So,
yeah. All right. I'm gonna move on here from Chris. You did have some nice picks there. Robert Woods, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Chark, and Juju Smith-Schuster. You got to make one here too, Chris, if you don't mind. No problem. And at the front end of this draft, they're always going to look nice. So we're going to start working our way to the back. Z2's got the second pick. Z2, give me some of the highlights of your draft.
I'm not going to talk about Hill or Adams because we already dipped in on Adams, and
we know they're good.
Yeah, we know they're good. CeeDee Lamb, he is 1A, 1B to Cooper, but I think he has more target potential because he seems to not clock out, like Philip said. And then I'm a live and die on the DJ Moore train because, I started there, might as well keep going there. And Sam Darnold is an upgrade to me over Teddy Bridgewater, and they were just both top. Him and Robbie Anderson were both top 25 receivers last year, I think. I could be wrong. Jamar Chase, if I'm getting him 12 or 10 picks after T. Higgins, I'll take that because I don't think they're too far behind. I don't think Chase is too far behind Higgins. And if they're going to throw as much as they say they are, then he's going to have a decent, if not great season. Deebo Samuel, I am worried about injuries here, but I just prefer him over Cooks and Landry. He's going to get those end around stuff like that. And then Devontae Smith,
love that.
He doesn't really have competition. I'm not scared of Jalen Reagor. Goddard's a good competition, but I think he can get the volume if Jalen Hurts can start completing passes.
Out of those, I know it's a 6-team draft here, but like that setup you've got the players that are great now. You've got the young guys for the future. This isn't a dynasty league, but I would be just I'd be in love with this team right now. All right, Sean, what do you got going in this first half of the draft?
Well, speaking of that, every time he makes a pick, I just cringe because I'm here as one of the Dynasty Rewind guys here. And you look at my team and it's the complete opposite. I'm taking risks on players that have some question marks. They have some age kind of considerations. So far, I guess I've just been after Diggs. I've really just been kind of going with that theme. I guess I jinxed myself with that Michael Thomas pick there as a way of just taking a chance. We know that quarterback situation is a little bit up in the air, and we all don't really know what that means for Thomas, but we know he can ball out. He's done it before. So it's just a matter of can we get that going again. So, and just to speak back to that Allen Robinson point, I was on the edge of taking Robinson in that slot, just to say, I am with you on that I feel like Robinson is QB proof, and that's how highly I think of him, Porkman. And
I love Robinson too. I was just kind of playing devil's advocate there.
Absolutely.
I love Robinson at 13.
Yeah. I was just saying how highly I kind of have him. And Porkman's kind of the same. I'm just a route running, film watching kind of guy. And, we kind of joke about it, but Porkman talks about seeing how they lower those hips and they can get themselves moving. And Allen Robinson is that kind of guy. And, whoever is going to get targets is going to be the guy that's open, and it's Robinson every time. So
he makes himself into a running back once he gets the ball, which is that's exactly what you want.
And then as my draft went on, I feel great about that Godwin pick where I got him. I feel like that's huge value. I feel like his injury last season and his kind of on-off phenomenon last year was just him not necessarily being 100%. So I feel like we are going to see him come back to form this year, especially with Brady being with him longer. And then I start getting into a little bit of risk with Galladay, Thielen, Cooks, and again, I'm just kind of just trying to see if I can get some value at these different tiers. These just happen to be the guys that happen to be in these tiers that I feel like have either an opportunity to have a higher ceiling than some of the other groups. But again, I'm cringing every pick that comes before me because I'm seeing Chase, I'm seeing Moore, I'm seeing Smith go off. I'm like, man, I am totally redrafting this right now, and trying to play contender here if possible.
I gotta tell you, Sean, I actually really like the Thielen and the Antonio Brown pick. I feel like they seem like they're sort of on the way out almost. I mean, like Antonio Brown is obviously a risk for a number of reasons. But he's also like
right now.
He's almost like at this point in the draft, he's like buying like that cheap like Cadillac that you can like fix up and you can ride around as it's that car that like still looks really cool even though it's old and busted anyway.
Yeah. I think he's got sneaky value. I know he might not be on the field as much as we like would hope like he would be like in the past, but when he is on the field last year, when he actually kind of got into the offense, he was producing. Like he was just as productive as in some of his games as Godwin, as Evans. It just depended on what kind of script they were playing, and I feel like he's going to have a role. And if you can pick him up in later rounds of some redrafts, just as like somebody that might have some value, I think it might be there. So it's worth a shot.
There's 27 here, man. That's like one of the greatest values I've seen out here.
Mm-hmm.
What for Thielen? Yeah,
for Thielen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've already talked too much about Thielen in other shows, so I'm not going to keep going. Phil, give me that draft.
All right, so we're not going to talk about the stud muffins up there. So I'll start with my fourth guy. I went with Cooper Kupp. I was in love with Cooper Kupp since he was a rookie. Now I don't want this to be a bad thing, but now he has a real quarterback now throwing him the ball, and he's going to ball out there.
You don't have to feel like you're being mean. We all know he's a real quarterback.
No, but yeah, Cooper's a stud. We all know that. He got Robert Woods, which I think is a good. He went in the same round too, so that's actually shows that they're both are really good, and their trajectory this year is probably going to go through the roof. And so my next one, Tyler Lockett. Some people say he's the real wide receiver one. He's just a little bit older. He always produces. He's always open downfield. We always looking at the games during Sunday, and he's always open downfield because Russ is always finding him. They have like some type of mental telepathy, and it always works for fantasy. The only issue was when he got hurt and he had that life-threatening injury, which it didn't seem like nothing. And then after that, the offense fell off. So I feel as though he's kind of like the X factor of the offense, even though everybody's looking at 6'10" DK Metcalf chasing down the cornerbacks after interceptions.
Yeah,
so what are you saying, bro?
I was saying a little fun fact about Lockett. He had the highest, like when Russell Wilson threw to him, Russell Wilson had the highest passer rating in the league.
Yeah,
Lockett just makes plays. Lockett makes big plays.
He does.
And he's just like he ended up just being a mismatch. There are times where he ends up in the slot with a linebacker on him, and it's just a cheat code. It's just like
disrespectful.
It's exactly. It's disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. Yeah. And Tyler Lockett's too good for any of that. He's gonna beat you every time if that's the case. Yeah. There is that worry about them not being able to air it out as much as they want. Let Russ Cook kind of fizzle it out at the end of the year there.
He got overcooked.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that's true. It's true. But the other thing is about this offense is I feel like those are two pretty solid targets. There's not much competition. You might think the world of Dwayne Eskridge, but I think even this year, I think that those are two pretty much hyper targets you're looking for. And even, you might have your lumps because again, it's wide receiver and it's inconsistent anyway, but I don't see, every year Tyler Lockett's putting up league winning performances. It's just, when are you going to actually get them?
Yeah.
And at this point in the draft, what's, why not, where you got him I lost you. I lost them. Oh, there he is in the 5th round. Yeah, exactly. He's great right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure. He's definitely going to finish higher than that. Like he's not even going to finish higher than his ADP. But the problem is he's going to be a headache for you every single week. And it's going to be really frustrating to start him and then have a bust game and then sit him and he has an amazing game.
Bomb game.
It's going to be so frustrating. You're going to have to play the guessing game every single week. And he's not really going to, I'm trying not to say something. He's going to finish higher than his ADP, but it's not going to seem like it because he's going to have so many bust games. It's just kind of who he is. He has a lot of bust games, but he's going to have some boom ones. And if you're just sitting him for those, it's going to be super frustrating for your fantasy team. And I'm just not really looking for that when I draft receivers. I don't want to try to play the guessing game every single week.
Sure, but even in this draft, if we sort of counted out, okay, so even if this was a 12-team league, we're sort of cutting our picks in half. That would be Phil's wide receiver 3. At that point, it really is just an upside
we
play.
are only drafting receivers, though.
That's true.
We are only
that's
drafting
true. And I'm the only one crazy enough to put together a draft where we're only drafting receivers. But I think the point still remains at this point. He's out of the top 24. At that point, again, it's you have those players that are going to win and lose you weeks, but it can work in either direction, and we don't really know what will happen. All we really know is that Tyler Lockett is a very good receiver, and when he can connect, when they do throw the ball, he's a good productive receiver as long as he's healthy, of course. Right. But even still, I think at that point the risk is worth the reward enough. You've seen it from him.
Z is just playing games with me right now.
I was just hoping he fell. I
can't believe I missed him.
God.
I'm mad at Chris because he took Russell Gage right before me, so I just panicked and take
Brought me some Gage this year.
I do like Elijah Moore a lot this year, but does anybody?
Sorry to mix that up, but I just
I miss Moore.
This is
no problem.
This is like what would be happening behind.
It's totally fine. This is the draft. This is what happens at a draft party. You have to stop and talk about that pick, right? I do like Elijah Moore, but I am gonna tread lightly when they talk about how great he is against the Jets defense come on now, I know, Chris, I know you're a Jets fan. I don't mean to dump on you, but I think they're turning it around. I think they're turning it around, but I don't know. I growing up near Giant Stadium, I never am quite willing to believe it. And now that Woody Johnson's back in town, it doesn't ease my mind anymore.
That makes me feel better, actually.
Oh yeah,
I feel better. But yeah, Elijah Moore.
Okay, all right.
Dynasty Elijah Moore. I think he's a great pick. I think he's undervalued in many cases.
Definitely.
I just don't know. As a Jets fan, I don't know who has what role in that offense besides Crowder. The fact that Crowder just took a pay cut to stay, it's like, oh, that was Elijah Moore right there. He was about to just slide into that slot role and just crush it. But now Crowder's still there. I mean, if he keeps up this kind of production when you put pads on, it's like hitting each other, he's going to find a role. And I'm not worried about that. But yeah, I mean, we're in the 11th round. We're in the 60s here for the position.
I don't know how. I don't know if this means
there
anything,
you go.
But I think there he goes. Kacey, taking him in the 11th round.
Thanks for talking me into him.
Got you.
I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Jets offense, but if you look at what they've done, it does seem to make a pretty clear path. You draft Elijah Moore. What was it? 34th or something overall. You did re-sign Jamison Crowder. You did want him to take a pay cut. Everybody wants every player to take a pay cut. Everybody does. But there is something to be said that they made a contract work and they got it done. And I don't know if it means a lot, but it does mean something to me that Denzel Mims is starting out running with the twos and not the ones. So I think at the very least that's sort of how I'm hedging that Jets offense right now. I'm sort of going more Crowder sort of very close together, and then Mims farther behind. I'm willing to take a shot on him, at the in the late rounds maybe if it works out on my team. But that's sort of where I'm going with that. But I want to turn back to our drafts. I want to talk to Kacey about her draft. Go ahead and give me your draft, Kacey.
Okay, so my draft is basically looks like boom or bust, guys, because that's what they are. As I'm going through here, I'm looking at them and I'm like, yeah. I mean, there's a scenario for each one of these guys to have huge games.
It's a boomer bust world out here.
It's a boomer bust world. And you know what? That's kind of what makes fantasy football fun too, is to like try to predict what's going to happen. So, yeah, like I think Evans is criminally underrated. He's gone over 1,000 yards for like the last 7 years or whatever. And that's just somebody that I think that I'm going to draft if he falls, you know, which he continuously does. So like that, Cortland Sutton is one of those guys that it's, again, like if he's healthy and, you know, the quarterback situation is scary in Denver. But, I mean, we've seen the talent that Cortland Sutton has, you know. I just it's a tricky one there, but like where he went and the guys that went around him, I feel like they're all kind of not maybe the sexiest picks or whatever. Like, I don't know. It just seems to me like out of all those guys, like it's kind of like a dart throw ish where it's like, Cooper Kupp, yeah, I like Cooper Kupp, and you know, I think I got sniped a lot in this draft because I was like, okay, T. Higgins, and he didn't fall to me, and I was like, all right, but yeah, you know, and then you know, Odell Beckham Jr. It's the same kind of thing, like with him. It sucks that that's just how it is with a couple of these guys that are talented. And it's just like, is this going to be the year? Because everybody keeps saying this is going to be the year that he turns it around. This is going to be the year that everything goes right for him. And I want to try one more shoot your shot on Odell Beckham Jr. because when he's on, you know? So at that point in the draft, I mean, Tyler Lockett again, I could have doubled up there, but you know, it didn't happen.
Hey, Kacey, I'm sorry, bro.
You know.
And you know what? If you are going to take a shot on a guy like Beckham, if you are going to take a shot on him, why is this not the year? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
Like this is a year. Like this is when everything is like set in place for them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, and then like with Robbie Anderson, okay, yeah. I mean, the quarterback situation is what it is, but I like Sam Darnold. I like him enough, and we all know that they've played together before, and Darnold and Anderson have nice things to say about each other right now, which is, I know, all just talk right now, but you know, Robbie Anderson's one of those sneaky guys too, and you know, he quietly puts up numbers, and that's the kind of guy that he is not going to hit every week, and he might just be consistent every week, and sometimes consistent's all you need. Once you get to a certain point with the players that you're going to be drafting in these rounds anyway. So, because sometimes consistent, and that goes for a lot of these guys, like Cole Beasley, he's hella consistent. It's crazy how like Cole Beasley goes to Buffalo and us Dallas fans are like, well, fine. And then like he goes there and he's like something special. And he was something special in Dallas too. But I mean, it's something different for fantasy purposes. I really like seeing how that's, you know, how that's going. And especially if you can, you know, get a Diggs and a Beasley or whatever. Like, I just love that combo so much. And then, yeah,
it's watching the Spurs. It's like the least sexy thing you could watch, but it's like
so awesome.
It's awesome. It's like watching Pop coach the Spurs is watching Cole Beasley play. It's always going to be good. It's always going to be there, but it's just not sexy.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, none of these guys that I like have drafted, like a lot of these guys are like the injury questions, right? And the like, oh, he's shown pops, he's shown flashes, right? And I'm just hoping in these rounds to hit on a guy that like, oh, this is the year that when he pops, he steadily pops. He continues to be in that range. And it's not just we see flashes or they come on late in the year or they're good at the beginning of the year and they drop off. So the consistency here is something that I'm, you know, a fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hutchinson, let's just go right into your draft, man. Go ahead.
All right. So I talked about a spicier pick that I had earlier this episode. So I'm going to go a little in depth in here with the studs because I really have strong opinions about these three. But Calvin Ridley is my wide receiver 1 in redraft.
Ooh, okay. Talk to me about
Calvin Ridley is my wide receiver 1 in redraft.
I like that.
Averaged just over 100 yards per game without Julio. Had about over 8 catches per game. He was putting up some elite numbers when Julio was gone. Now Julio's gone. Matt Ryan, this is still a very pass-heavy offense with a very iffy run game in Mike Davis. I'm not really a Mike Davis guy. I don't really believe in Mike Davis. He had some flashes, but he just regressed, and he just had a really bad season at the end of his stretch. So they still don't have a secure run game, and they have a terrible defense. They're going to pass a lot. They're going to pass a lot with Matt Ryan, and I don't see a world where Calvin Ridley doesn't see 150 targets. Like, I think Calvin Ridley easily sees 140, 150 targets. And Kyle Pitts is there, but Kyle Pitts is a rookie tight end who, look, rookie tight ends don't usually work out. They don't usually work out. I mean, I still like Kyle Pitts a lot because there's just tons of volume to go around in this offense. It's not just going to be Calvin Ridley. So I like Pitts a lot, but, rookie tight ends don't always work out. I just feel that Calvin Ridley has the best shot, and he has so much upside this season after his breakout last year. He just had such a great season. And then moving on to my next guy, Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen's being really undervalued right now. I feel like I got 2 top 8 receivers in the first 2 rounds. Keenan Allen, with Hunter Henry gone, Keenan Allen is going to see tons of volume. Like, he's going to see Justin Herbert and him were best friends on the field. Every time it was Keenan Allen. He just threw it to Keenan Allen. The coach just told him to stop throwing to Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen was open, so he just kept throwing it to him. And for good reason. Keenan Allen is an elite route runner. He's an elite receiver in the NFL.
Why wouldn't you throw to Keenan Allen? You want to win. You want to win the game, right? You
want to win. Just throw to Keenan Allen. I feel like wide receiver. I feel like I got him at wide receiver 12, and he's usually going around wide receiver 10. I feel like that's just his floor with the volume he's going to see. I feel wide receiver 10 is his floor, and he has just so much upside with just Justin Herbert as his quarterback, with the offense that I think this offense could be great. I think this team could be great with their defense, pretty much their entire defense coming back from injury last season. I really like Keenan Allen at wide receiver 12. Then Amari Cooper, I've explained him a lot. I'm going to move on. Deontay Johnson is basically a volume play. He just is going to see so many targets. He's going to be peppered with targets from Big Ben Roethlisberger. I still think this team is going to be not pass happy, but they're going to pass a good amount. And Big Ben just loves throwing to Deontay Johnson. It doesn't matter who else is open. He loves throwing Deontay Johnson. In all the games Deontay Johnson started fully with Big Ben, he had 10 plus targets. And he was on if you take the fully healthy games where Big Ben was the starter, he was on a crazy good pace. He was on a top 15 pace. And I feel he has wide receiver 1 upside if he were to fix his drop problems and his injuries. But even with the drop problems and the injuries, he finished in the top 24. And I feel like me getting him at wide receiver 24 is his floor. I feel like that's easily his floor. I feel he easily surpasses that. I have him as my wide receiver 18 right now. I feel that could go up, but the injury concerns and the dropping concerns are still problems. And then my next 2 guys were basically just shot. A lot of my draft after the first 4 rounds were basically just taking shots on guys I think have a lot of upside. Jerry Jeudy, he came into the league as an elite route. Like, he's one of the best route runners in the NFL already. He was so good with his routes in his rookie year. He had some drop problems and he had some Drew Lock problems, but he still
has some Drew Lock problems though.
He still has those problems, but I honestly think Teddy B could start a good amount of games, and Teddy B just came from Carolina, who had 2 very fantasy relevant receivers, and the third guy in Curtis Samuel, who was very good for fantasy down the stretch. And I feel that Jerry Jeudy just has a lot of upside going into year 2. Laviska Shenault, he's a guy that finished the year strong, and I feel he could be the number 1. He could definitely be the number 1 target on this offense. It just depends on who Trevor Lawrence meshes with first. Travis Etienne is the only problem with Laviska Shenault because I feel both of them could see the same type of targets, and that would definitely cap Laviska Shenault's upside. But Laviska Shenault had a really strong end to the season. Now he has a great quarterback in Trevor Lawrence chucking the ball, and I feel that Laviska Shenault is going to be – I feel that he might be the number 1 target, and I feel he's definitely going to finish number 1 in terms of these receivers for fantasy football. Next, Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker was a guy that he was just the number one option on the team when Tua started to have. Tua was the quarterback 14 in the last 5 games. He was doing well. And Devontae Parker was the number one target by far. Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle are now there. I still think he's just a safe guy. He's like that contested catch guy, that big body guy that can make some contested catches. And I feel that Devontae Parker will see some significant targets. Curtis Samuel, it could be a 1A, 1B situation with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. I feel Curtis Samuel just has a lot of upside. Wide receiver 9 in like the last 8 weeks in Carolina. He just has Ryan Fitzpatrick likes to stick to his first 2 options or his first option. And I feel that Curtis Samuel is at least going to be the 2 in this offense in terms of receiving work. And he's going to be involved in the running game like he always is. He has handoffs. He has screen ability. He has deep play upside. I feel he has a lot of upside this season. Jalen Reagor, Denzel Mims, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all just kind of shots in the dark. I'm just taking shots at guys who could have breakouts, who could see significant volume. Jalen Reagor now he has Devonta Smith to distract the defense. I feel working as the number 2 option as the slot guy, he could be pretty good. Denzel Mims, he was just running with the 2s. I know, but I feel I'm watching some film on Denzel Mims. I really like the way he plays football. I just really like everything about Denzel Mims, the way he can make those big contested catches, make those big plays. I just love everything about Denzel Mims. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a guy that behind TJ Hutchinson, I feel could be the number 1 target behind TJ Hutchinson. And Jared Goff has provided fantasy relevant receivers in Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. He's provided some really good fantasy options. And I feel Amon-Ra St. Brown will at least be 3rd behind TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift in receiving stats, at least 3rd, if not 2nd.
And are you not considering Quintez Cephas and Tyrell Williams? Do you not consider them at all?
Or Rashad Perriman? Don't hate on Rashad Perriman.
I really feel Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really good receiver. Just watching him in college, I feel he was a great receiver. I mean, there's definitely a chance that any of those 3 guys could take the number 2 role, but I feel Amon-Ra St. Brown has the most. I feel like Amon-Ra St. Brown has the most chances because I think we know what we have in those other 3 receivers. They know what they have, and I feel if Amon-Ra St. Brown were show up and be good in mini camps, show up and just be great in mini camps and practices, I think he could definitely be the number 2 option. And Emmanuel Sanders, I feel he could fill the John Brown role. And when John Brown was healthy, he was getting significant targets in this offense. And from a great quarterback in Josh Allen and a great offense, I think he could see significant targets. And I like him at his ADP right now. That's my team.
Sure. Yeah, I like it. I will say, as far as redraft goes, I'm probably just staying away from the Lions. And if somebody pops, I'll pick them up. But I mean, this is a wide receiver draft, so we went pretty deep into the muck here. But yeah, I'd just be avoiding Detroit. I'd be drafting Hawkinson like a mother, but I'd be avoiding Detroit wide receivers.
Yeah, Hawkinson's my number 3 for tight ends.
There you go. We're talking tight ends again next week, and we had a great draft here. And before we sign off, I just want to give everybody an opportunity to talk to me a little bit about their content, what's coming on, and where they can find you. Chris of the Commish, Moshinskie, what's going on, man?
Not much right now. So the Practice Squad podcast, you can find us at Practice Squad FF on Twitter. Getting some stuff going, probably in July. So we'll talk to some of the guys today. So we'll take a look for that in a couple of weeks. And then just going for 2.com. So getting some player outlooks out there still in a busy week. So I owe some to them right now. But check out the other stuff that's on there. Just appreciate being on here again, Mark. Anytime you need someone, let me know. But it's been a pleasure with everybody here. So thanks again.
Chris, it's been great having you, and you're welcome anytime. All of you are welcome anytime. Z2, go ahead.
I do all the graphics over at Real Deal Fantasy and Triple Play Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Z2 Fantasy. And just wanted to shout out JBK Custom Designs on Instagram. If you need a fire table, cornhole boards, whatever, just follow them and hit them up.
Nice.
Love it. Sean Fournier, go ahead.
All right. So you can find me on Twitter at Rewind Intern. Also the editor-in-chief for our written content through our Dynasty Rewind Patreon page that we provide some written content, rankings, group chat, Patreon leagues. We've got stuff being added every single day. So, we're working on rankings, not only in Dynasty for rookie rankings, but also IDP rankings with Bob Ban, the IDP man. And then also too, we're expanding a bit as well. And we're dabbling in some best ball rankings, as well as some Devi rankings as well with Nate and Maddie on staff. So, and obviously we've got a crew that's getting bigger, and we're starting to just try to get the best that we can out there for our listeners and for Dynasty players out there. So,
editor-in-chief and can't get above intern.
It's kind of stuck. It started that way, and now I can't, we can't shake it. But no, I'm just kidding. No, the guys are great there, and now it's a persona more than anything, I think. But I don't know. Phil can still razz me. I think they can all still razz me at times. So.
I love it. Phil, go ahead with your info.
Yeah. Oh, well, obviously everything that Sean said. Plus, obviously you can find me on Twitter at FFPorkman. We always have a pod Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about anything. Make sure you send Mike some questions. At DM Bauer at Rewind CEO. So make sure you send him some questions so we can, talk about them on the pod. And like I always say at the end of the pod, you can always DM me. We can talk about anything personal, fantasy. If you need prayer or something like that, we're always there for you.
Thank you so much, Phil, for coming on.
No problem.
All right, Kacey Kasem, hit him with your info.
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter at the Kacey Kasem, KACEYKASEM. I am a writer for the Fantasy Footballers. I just put out a column on Nico Collins, and I have a JD McKissick article coming out soon, so that'll be fun. And then
we
I
didn't
also
draft Nico Collins though. What happened? Nobody.
No, he was. I thought about it. I don't think I didn't think about it. I did think about it, but But yeah, so I do that, and I also have a podcast called Get Real with Kacey Kasem, and it's just like kind of a look behind the scenes of the fantasy football world, the industry. Talk to all kinds of people, big, small, and in between, and just kind of get a behind the scenes look. So it's really dope, and they come out Monday nights, so get that wherever you guys listen to podcasts.
And I listen to as many podcasts of my guests or just anybody in the fantasy community. I'm always looking for new things. And when I stumbled upon your podcast, Kacey, I love it because I'm somebody starting up sort of in the fantasy industry. And there are so many little tidbits of information that you'd never think that you'd never hear on a fantasy podcast, but you sort of get out of these great guests. It's really excellent work.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that's why I did it, because we're all trying to put out the best work as possible, and kind of getting that insider info is real fun.
That's right. And I put this together because I thought it was, as much as it's something everybody does is mock draft. I feel like it's kind of like something nobody does too at the same time. Like we put it together and just bring people together, get their content out there. I love supporting everybody in the community. There's so much great work out here, and I love supporting everybody and throwing out your content. And our last one's no exception. Hutchinson, give them the info you got.
All right, guys. So you can follow me on Twitter at TYFMNFL. Just hit 1,000 followers recently. Super pumped about that. You can find the podcast, the Young Fantasy Mind Football Podcast, pretty much most places you listen to podcasts. Go to the website, theyoungfantasymind.com. You can find my rankings over there. It's just redraft rankings for now. That's my main focus of the podcast. It's redraft. But you can find the podcast over there, and I'm going to be starting writing articles soon as well. I actually have like the little articles tab, but no posts are up there yet. That's coming sometime late June, early July, sometime like that. I'll keep you guys updated on my Twitter page at TYFMNFL. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. And I'm Mark Shue. You can find me on Twitter at Primetime Mock. I did tease having a solo show coming up here, so I should probably make good on that. You'll probably see that maybe next week. But other than that, go on ahead and if you're not here already, head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Next week, we're going to be wrapping up our positional month here in June, going with tight ends. It'll be another great draft full of great guests, and I can't wait to see you all there. Have a good weekend, everybody.